turnaround in the Trinidad and Tobago economy. That's our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Thursday, May 10. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Nicole Best. Good evening. Things are looking up economically for Trinidad and Tobago. The government reported on Thursday that the economy has turned around, but it urged continued discipline and production in order for the oil-rich Twin Island Republic to experience further growth and recovery this year. In presenting the mid-year review to Parliament, Finance Minister Combe Imbert told legislators that the country was moving into an era of macroeconomic stability, which is underpinning its recovery.
The economy is turning around. In fact, Madam Speaker, it has turned around. Revenue collection is up, Madam Speaker. The non-oil sector is growing, Madam Speaker. The energy sector is booming, Madam Speaker. But we are very much aware, Madam Speaker, that the continuing consolidation of our fiscal finances is an essential condition for achieving our objectives.
But the Finance Minister has sounded a word of caution. He says discipline and productivity are key to the country's recovery, growth and prosperity.
After the sacrifices and prudent fiscal management, of the last 2.5 years, our economy is turning around. But we have to be careful. In particular, our core revenues from taxation are still fragile and still below 40 billion, while we are running a $50 billion economy. But finally, we're experiencing growth and recovery in 2018.
But opposition leader Kamala Persad-Bissessar maintains that the Dr. Keith Rowley-led administration has shown no intention of putting the economy on a sustainable path. In her response to the review on Thursday, the former Prime Minister said the government is stuck on the same old paradigm and is handcuffed to the energy sector.
So what does this government do and continues to do? Same paradigm. It's the same, plantation to port, from the sugar, just sending it away. And the same we mine the hydrocarbons, we send it away. It's the same paradigm. It's the same economic model that they have handcuffed themselves in. So what do they do? You wait for the windfalls from the energy sector, yes? You wait for the price to go up, and then what do? You summon everybody with the good news. We are booming. We are booming. We are booming. When the price gone up 1 month, 2 months, nothing to tell us how you're going to increase production. Nothing to tell us how you'll incentivize that sector.
Guyana's ambassador to the United States says the government's recent economic thrust towards the oil and gas sector has many Guyanese in the diaspora eager to return home to invest. Dr. Riyad Insanali says that with Guyana on the cusp of change, many who have the requisite skills want to share them with the country. We get more in this report from Royden James of HGP Nightly News.
Guyanese living in the United States have been bursting with excitement to return to Guyana to either invest or to get a first-hand feel of things in Guyana in light of recent developments in the oil sector. This is according to Guyana's ambassador to Washington, Dr. Riyad Insanali.
There's tremendous interest on the part of Guyanese in the diaspora to return home, not necessarily permanently, but at least go back, see what's happening. They feel the buzz as well. Some of them have important skills. They're interested in offering their services. There's a lot of interest in Guyana now in the United States. So there's a buzz. There's growing interest. We're still not well known, but for people in the know, there's an awareness that Guyana is on the cusp of great change.
The ambassador noted that his office is in the process of rolling out the diaspora engagement strategy, a draft of which has been completed. Ambassador Insanali noted, too, that there are still areas for consideration to include in the strategy.
We still don't have very clear guidelines in place for members of the diaspora in terms of what they can expect when they come back, apart from the remigration policies that are well known. We perhaps need to consider other incentives. We perhaps need to consider structured programs to attract specific skills, and we perhaps need to do a better job of communicating with the diaspora to let them know what is possible.
Earlier this year, Minister of Foreign Affairs Carl Greenidge had said that the draft diaspora engagement strategy and action plan were being reviewed by the diaspora unit of his ministry before submission for cabinet's review and approval.
In the meantime, however, members of the diaspora, more enterprising members of the diaspora, are finding their way back home. They are reaching out to friends and relatives. They are reaching out to government officials, and they're exploring the possibilities already for setting up businesses, joint ventures, investing some of their hard-earned money here in Guyana, and bringing their skills into play. I can think of some accountants. I can think of people in the who have experience in the oil and gas sector. Not a lot of people, but there are a lot of people coming back.
The policy paper will formally guide the administration's relationship with the diaspora with a focus on three main operational areas: diaspora communities, home country, and social media.
Jamaican authorities have declared war on gangs and their associates. National Security Minister says security forces will be going after gang leaders, gang members, wanted men and people who help them in their criminal enterprises as shootings and murders continue to rise. Speaking in the House of Representatives on Wednesday afternoon, Dr. Horace Chang outlined measures to curtail gang violence in the crime hotspot parish of Westmoreland, where 7 people were killed over a 24-hour period last week. He said intelligence suggested that more than half of the murders in the parish this year up to May 5th were linked to gang conflict. We get more in this anti-gang plan from Andrea Chisholm of TVJ News.
Images depicting the misery and mayhem that rocked Grange Hill, Westmoreland last week. 7 people killed, including a 2-year-old, and several others injured due to a gang war. Between January 1 and May 5 this year, 57 people were murdered in Westmoreland, 12 more than the same period last year. And when it comes to shootings, that too is up. 64 shootings have been recorded in the division. So National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says the security forces will be hunting down gang members, wanted men, persons of interest, as well as people and businesses that help them commit crimes.
Inform personnel across the country reports of possible persons of interest from the division that may attempt to flee the island. Work with the Financial Investigation Division of the Ministry of Finance and the RPD to go after these criminals, their cronies and support systems in order to disable their resources and make them financially non-viable.
3 major gang feuds are at the heart of the problem in Westmoreland: Dexter Street versus Dalling Gang, Kings Valley and the Sterling Godfrey Gang, and the Garth Elvin versus the Russell faction.
We envision that in the media, it will be good to see images of dons and gang leaders being escorted to courts by police officers as a testimony of our new way of doing business.
Changes will also be made to the anti-gang, proceeds of crime and anti-lottery scanning laws.
It will be useful, not just for the House, but for the country, to indicate some timelines that we are working with to put these in place.
Opposition Member of Parliament Mark Golding wants a joint select committee to meet quickly and make recommendations to update the anti-gang law. He said that review was due in April last year. Director of Public Prosecutions Paula Llewellyn recently called for the police to get powers to enter search and seize specifically under the anti-gang law. While the nation awaits those changes, Member of Parliament for Western Westmoreland Dr. Wickham McNeil wants the security forces to maintain a strong presence in the area.
If we sit down on top of this issue now, we may be able to resolve it. If we ever just treat it as a one-day occurrence and go away, what is going to happen, it will only be a matter of time that you will get a resurgence and it will be harder to resolve the second time around.
And still to come in Caribbean Newsline, Sedima's boss tells Jamaicans recent destructive heavy rains should be a warning ahead of the upcoming hurricane season. That story and more after the break. Do stay with us.
watching on May 12th as the Anthony N. Sabga Caribbean Awards for Excellence is broadcast live from the Pegasus Hotel in Jamaica. Join us from 7:30 p.m. Eastern Caribbean Time as Kai Miller of Jamaica, Noel and Siobhan Joseph of Trinidad and Tobago, Andrew Boyle of Guyana, and Adesh Ramsubag of Trinidad and Tobago receive $500,000 TT, a medal and citation for their work in the arts, sciences, public and civic contributions, and entrepreneurship.
Follow your heart to the 22nd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival from June 27th to July 1st, 2018, featuring Kester Band, Singer Melogy, Small Axe Band, Nyla Blackman, and Betty Watt. Also, Patti LaBelle, Dijon, New Vibes International, Rhythm of the Beat, and Wayne Wonder. Spice, August Alsina, Aishona, Byron Messiah, Dasha, Shaka Dimas, and Pliers, and Miss Lauren Hill. Save the date and book now for the 22nd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other.
Welcome back. Jamaicans are being urged to heed the warning from this week's torrential rains that left several communities across the island flooded, damaged infrastructure, and caused landslides that left roads blocked. The advice comes from Executive Director of the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, Ronald Jackson, who says the rains should be a lesson to Jamaicans of what is to come if there is a bigger natural disaster this hurricane season. The season begins on June 1st and ends November 30th. And Jackson says where immediate action is not possible, the government should ensure that the problems which emerged this week and other potential ones are quickly addressed.
Can't predict the future, but what you are seeing, clearly there are weaknesses that are being exposed by these rain events, and these weaknesses could be the state of the natural ecosystems in the upland forest, because we've also done some work in looking at a correlation between where you have healthy forests, healthy watersheds, and what happens downstream with infrastructure. And so you could be seeing that. You could also be seeing situations where their infrastructure may not have been properly built, designed. You don't know. But what you want to do is to look at these events that are happening and to use them to plan for the upcoming hurricane season.
The 21st meeting of the Council for Foreign and Community Relations, COFCOR, ended in the Bahamas earlier this week, with participants deeming it a success. The meeting focused on developments that were of increasing concern to CARICOM in the Latin America and Caribbean region. It also discussed the strengthening of relations with traditional partners and the widening of its outreach to non-traditional partners. We get more in this report from ZNS Network News.
The 21st meeting for the Council of Foreign and Community Relations has been branded a success. The meeting held earlier this week at the British Colonial Hilton discussed CARICOM's relations with the United States, the United Kingdom, and Canada. Minister of Foreign Affairs Darren Henfield says issues of migration were discussed extensively with a representative from the UN.
She alluded to the fact that criminal deportees from large countries, they understand and appreciated the United Nations, that they pose somewhat of a burden on countries. I don't know if you understand the way that happens, but someone might be a child and taken to another country, the United States, United Kingdom, or Canada, for instance, and they get in trouble with the law. And you ask, what is your country of origination? And you say the Bahamas. And then we're contacted at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and we're asked to receive a person.
Now, issues including political dialogue, trade and development cooperation regarding CARICOM's engagement with the UK post-Brexit were also discussed. CARICOM Secretary General Erwin LaRoque says engagement on maintaining trade were being discussed with the UK since last year.
The current economic partnership agreement will form the basis of what would emerge as a trade agreement going forward between the CARIFORUM states, which are now the parties to the EPA, and the British United Kingdom. The discussions there have been ministerial consultations, and there have been technical exchanges as well. I think we are fairly well advanced. I'm fairly confident that by March 20th, I think is the date, 2019, we should have something in place.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, a suggestion that the West Indies hiring of former Pakistani leg spinner Mushtaq Ahmed as a coach won't be enough to turn the Caribbean side's fortune around. Stay with us. Sport is next.
On May 12th, as the Anthony N. Sabga Caribbean Awards for Excellence is broadcast live from the Pegasus Hotel in Jamaica. Join us from 7:30 p.m. Eastern Caribbean Time as Kai Miller of Jamaica, Noel and Siobhan Joseph of Trinidad and Tobago, Andrew Boyle of Guyana, and Adesh Ramsubag of Trinidad and Tobago receive $500,000 TT, a medal and citation for their work in the arts, sciences, public and civic contributions, and entrepreneurship.
Follow your heart to the 22nd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival from June 27 to July 1st, 2018. Featuring Kester Band, Singer Lungi, Small Axe Band, Nyla Blackman, and Betty Watt. Also, Patti LaBelle, Dijon, New Vibes International, Rhythm of the Beat, and Wayne Wonder. Spice, August Alsina, Aishona, Byron Messiah, Dasha, Shaka Dimas, and Pliers, and Miss Lauren Hill. Save the date and book now for the 22nd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other.
Pakistani leg spinner Mushtaq Ahmed in the coaching staff of West Indies cricket is a welcome move. But he told TV6's Vinod Nawani that Ahmed may not be the man to turn the Windies' bad fortune around.
As former Pakistan leg spinner Mushtaq Ahmed joins the West Indies as bowling coach for a month, revered cricket analyst Fazir Mohammed welcomes the move, be it short and sweet. Mohammed says having the 47-year-old work with the Caribbean side is a step in the right direction.
Given the fact that the West Indies have been so reliant on spin, more and more you see, because of our pitches, because of a lot of other factors, we see a lot of the spinners coming into the fore in domestic cricket, in regional cricket. He's worked here before in the Caribbean, and he's worked in many parts of the world. And I think he's got that level of experience and stature in the game that he could actually work very well for the West Indies young spinners.
Having said that, Mohammed is concerned about the fast bowlers in the Caribbean, stating that the flat pitches are certainly not helping them. Besides assisting the pacers, Mohammed feels bouncy wickets can also benefit the spinners.
I think we overlook the fact that spinners also need a bit of bounce. That if you've got a pitch that offers some good carry and good bounce, that wrist spinners, top spinners, those who rely on a bit of bounce, can come into play as well. That's why we see so many outstanding spinners coming out of Australia.
While Mohammed fully supports Ahmed, the cricket broadcaster says that the appointment of the Pakistani is not going to change the state of West Indies cricket instantly, even if he had a longer stint as bowling coach.
West Indies are so inconsistent, and the standard is so generally low that it's going to be difficult to expect anyone, whether it's a Stuart Law, whether it's a Mushtaq Ahmed, whether it's a Shane Warne, whether it's anybody else, to bring about a transformation in a system that has been so consistently poor for such a long period of time.
Ahmed has 185 test wickets from 52 matches, while in ODIs he has 161 scalps.
Meanwhile, Director of Cricket Jimmy Adams said Ahmed could play a pivotal role in helping to develop the region's spin assets in the future. The former West Indies captain said, and I quote, "Although this initial stint is 4 weeks, both parties are already discussing the possibility of engaging Ahmed in a more regular basis in the future, not only to work with our players, but just as importantly with our coaches in the region." End of quote. Adams said he expected Mushtaq to bring high value to all three squads. Adams added, and I quote again, "I'm pleased to welcome Mushtaq Ahmed into the Caribbean and look forward to his upcoming period with our elite squads. Mushtaq comes with a wealth of experience of having worked for a long time with elite level spinners, and I'm sure he will add value to our high performance programs. I'm hopeful that we can engage Mushtaq beyond the initial 4-week period and have him here in the West Indies on a more consistent basis, sharing his expertise with both players and coaches across the region." End of quote. Former Guyana Cricket Board Administrator Claude Raphael is putting blame for the international ban imposed on West Indies fast bowler Ronsford Beaton squarely on the shoulders of the board. The 25-year-old was reported for a suspect bowling action following the second one-day international against New Zealand in Christchurch last December. But Raphael is claiming the board was fully aware of Beaton's action, and he's accusing them of turning a blind eye to the matter.
Former GCB Administrator Claude Raphael slammed the officials of the GCB on the ban of Guyanese fast bowler Ronsford Beaton from bowling in international cricket by the ICC. The cricket administrator stated that the officials of the Guyana Cricket Board should take full responsibility for Beaton's action, since it was known long before that the fast bowler had a suspected bowling action, but did nothing to correct it.
There's a sad situation with the Beaton matter. I mean, I recall my panel, I was chairing the panel when Beaton was selected in around 2008 or thereabouts as an 18-year-old. And, you know, Beaton definitely is a youngster with talent. He showed that time from as early as those days. And we expected Beaton to go far in cricket, to play for the West Indies and all that, which he did. But you see what has happened is that the persons who have been monitoring Beaton's development seem not to have taken it seriously and probably are totally incapable of correcting whatever faults Beaton had.
The former selector said he was also taken by surprise by the response of the now acting president of the board, Faisal Bacchus, on the matter.
Come out and have the acting president of the board, instead of trying to protect a youngster who is indeed the only homegrown equivalent that has a player for Guyana, because he was selected basically from playing artist cricket he played for Guyana from the basis of playing artist cricket in Essequibo. Unlike most of the others, even Sawan, although he played for the West Indies, he played most of his cricket and development in Georgetown. And like even the others who are playing now, they all played their trade in Georgetown, Georgetown clubs. But he was homegrown, and when he was selected to play for Guyana, and got into the West Indies team as well. So I think he's a youngster that has immense talent, and that is very disturbing to know that the president, the acting president of the Guyana board, who is indeed the president of Essequibo board, where Beaton comes from, would get on the television and say, oh, he's indisciplined, he's this, he's that, rather than trying to see how best he can help the young man to move forward. It is appalling.
Rafa said that all necessary steps should be taken to help the young fast bowler, since he still has a bright future in front of him for the country, region, and internationally.
To my mind, he's being called up. I think the West Indies board has announced that they're going to put him into camp, and I would hope that would help him to, whatever flaws or problems he has, that they'll be able to work on it, because he's still young, and I think he can be one of the more successful fast bowlers in West Indies cricket, and West Indies need Beaton's talent right now, rather than ridiculing him and destroying his confidence, as these guys seem to want to do.
And T20 captain Carlos Brathwaite says he will continue to wait patiently for his opportunity despite not getting a play in a single match in the Indian Premier League this season for the Sunrisers Hyderabad. With just 4 matches left in their preliminary campaign, Sunrisers top the standings on 16 points with just 2 defeats in their 10 outings. And Brathwaite has been unable to force his way into the 11, but he says his focus was on keeping himself ready for when the opportunity presented itself. He played just 2 matches last season before being released and was subsequently picked up by Sunrisers for $314,640 in last January's draft. Internationally, it has not been smooth sailing for Brathwaite either. His fireworks in the T20 World Cup final against England appeared to create unrealistic expectations, and he has also struggled for his best form. But the 29-year-old said he was hoping to get back to his best form soon. Following the IPL, Brathwaite will lead West Indies in the T20 International against an ICC World 11 at Lord's on May 31st. And that match has been organized to raise funds to rebuild stadia in the Caribbean that were damaged when Hurricanes Irma and Maria passed through the region last September. And that's the sport. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Barbados, renowned for its pristine beachfront and fantastic weather, continues to leave quite an impression on newcomers to the island and returning visitors. The Caribbean island, quite popular as a vacation hotspot, is not only beautiful due to its natural aesthetics. The island of Barbados continues to grow in popularity because of unique connections developed with our people, our culture. We can't wait to welcome you.
Be watching on May 12th as the Anthony N. Sabga Caribbean Awards for Excellence is broadcast live from the Pegasus Hotel in Jamaica. Join us from 7:30 p.m. Eastern Caribbean Time as Kai Miller of Jamaica, Noel and Siobhan Joseph of Trinidad and Tobago, Andrew Boyle of Guyana, and Adesh Ramsubag of Trinidad and Tobago receive $500,000 TT, a medal and citation for their work in the arts, sciences, public and civic contributions, and entrepreneurship.
Again, the major developments of this day. The Trinidad and Tobago government reports a turnaround in the economy, but urges continued discipline and productivity to cement further growth. And in sport, respected regional cricket analyst Fazir Mohammed suggests the West Indies hiring of former Pakistani leg spinner Mushtaq Ahmed as a coach won't be enough to turn the Caribbean side's fortune around. And that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, log on to KarnaNews.com. We'll be back here again tomorrow. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and do have yourselves a good night.